All right, Silvio, take over. Thank you very much.
Ready? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Don't trust me with a clicker because usually my slides zoom away. So, Algorand, core, and new technology. By the way, I really believe, as I said also yesterday with Vitalik, that technology is really important in blockchain. In fact, the blockchain has a constant challenge, the tension between aspiration, whatever we want to be, and the technology that is going to bring us there. And it's very good to have always very high aspiration. We are humans, we need this, but then we need technology to support it, otherwise our aspirations are going to remain unrealized like a pie in the sky. And speaking of technologies, let's say we all love decentralization, but how to get it? You know, what are the popular prior approaches? The first one, you know, hat off to Mr. or Mrs. Nakamoto, is proof of work, right? There is a great, you know, riddle that to be solved. The first one solves it, has the right to decide the block on the behalf of all of us. What is the problem? That it somehow brings in some undesired centralization. Right now, the Bitcoin blockchain is controlled by 3 mining pools. Is this decentralized? Not at all. It's actually quite centralized. So next idea is delegated proof of stake. And what does this mean? It essentially means, say, see this 21 individual over there? They look honest. Let's hope they will remain honest. Let's give them the power to choose the next block on behalf of all of us. Because choosing the next block is really the main power in blockchain. Is this decentralized? It doesn't even try to be decentralized. You know, it mentions blockchain, but it's actually centralized from the get-go. And about the bonded proof of stake. Bonded proof of stake is not about 20 or 200 or 2,000 people. It allows as many people as they want to put some money in the middle of the table where they cannot, when is a hostage there. And the people who push their money in the middle of the table are the ones who choose the next block on behalf of all of us. And somehow their influence is proportional to the money that they put in the middle of the table. Now, this sounds good, but let's ask ourselves a very simple question. How much of your disposable income can you afford to put hostage in the middle of the table? And I guess that the answer is very little. So in a system like this, we run the risk to put the system in the hands of malicious people with a deep pocket, who put a disproportionate amount of money in the middle of the table for the sole reasons of controlling our blockchain. So altogether, it seems to me that these old approaches had the following logical equation. The whole economy is secure if and only if a small part of the economy is honest. And I think that is the wrong way to go. Because who wants to be hostage to a small part, to a few miners, to 21 delegates, and so on and so forth? So what do we believe an Algorand is instead? Is what we call a pure proof of stake. What does it mean? That the money is never put hostage anywhere. The money is where it should be, in your wallet, ready to be spent or invested in the various opportunities the blockchain offers you. And wherever the money is, if you look at the majority of the money, if the majority of the money, wherever it happens to be, is in honest hands, then the system works, period. Another way to say it, to subvert a pure proof of stake, the owners of the majority of the money should collude with each other in order to bring down that very economy of which they own the majority of. That is a bit less likely to arrive. And how do we achieve this from a technological point of view? Essentially, who is in charge of selecting the new block is 1,000 randomly selected users, a committee of 1,000 randomly selected users. And this block, these randomly selected 1,000 users, next block, a different randomly selected 1,000 users. And what the users do, we do something very simple. They propagate a simple, short, and easy to compute message. We say, gee, Silvio, thank you very much. You know, I understand that the system security depends on this 1,000 people committee. Who chooses them? Well, certainly it's not me, because that would be very centralized. Also bad would be to have all the community in the world discuss who should be the next 1,000 people committee, because humanity is very hard to come to consensus on anything. So in Algorand, somehow we have a very unorthodox approach. Essentially, these committee members select themselves. On the face of it, this seems to be the worst idea, maybe the second worst idea that one can have. Because if I select myself and I'm bad, of course I select myself to be part of this committee and part of the second committee and the committee after that. But not so fast. What does it mean that you self-select yourself? It means that each one of you runs a miniature individual lottery in the privacy of your own laptop to determine if you are a member of an S committee or not. So if you are a member, your lottery gives you a winning ticket, a proof, mathematical proof that you're part of this committee, and what do? You propagate this winning ticket together with your opinion about the block. Listen to me because I have a winning ticket, I'm part of this committee. And if you don't win the lottery, you can say whatever you want, but nobody pays attention to what you say. And the probability of winning is proportional somehow to the money that you have, so that to prevent a Sybil attack where I generate 1,000 versions of myself, maybe one of them wins, right? So essentially, probability of winning is the same, whether I have a million algo, say a million token in one wallet, or I have a million wallet with one token each. So that's why Sybil attacks do not work. So now let me explain why this is super decentralized. Because I'm not talking that the same 1,000 people committee is in charge of producing the next block for the next month or week or day or hour, right? I just say this block, one committee, next block, a different randomly selected committee. So that is really truly decentralized. And this is super scalable. Why? How long does it take to do this micro lottery inside each of our computer? 1 microsecond. Click. So can 1,000 people, after a microsecond of computation, afford to send a single and short message throughout the network? Yeah, that's why it scales. And so what is left is, why is this secure? Assume that I'm a very big, scary guy with great powers. I can corrupt instantly any 1,000 people I want all over the world. Whom I want to corrupt? The 1,000 people committee, you are in charge of a block, so I have control over the block. But I have a problem. I don't know whom I should corrupt, because this people committee select themselves in the privacy of your computer. So I don't know if you won or lost. I don't know if I should corrupt you, or that lady, or this other guy in Paris, or this lady down the street. So, but after you propagate your winning ticket and your opinion about the block, now I know whom I should corrupt, and I corrupt them right away. But so what? At this point, it's a bit too late, isn't it? Because whatever the committee had to say has already said it, and is virally propagated all over the network, and I do not have the power to put the messages back in the bottle no more than the US government has the power to put back in the bottle a message propagated by WikiLeaks. So the system is secure because beforehand I do not know whom I should corrupt, and ex post is too late to corrupt them. And if you think about it, that's how Algorand solves the trilemma. You remember the trilemma that is very hard to be really decentralized, secure, and scalable? That's how somehow we solve it. But now I want to tell you that this is our consensus algorithm, but we are, Algorand is focused on innovation, and let me share that there are going to be a lot of other innovation. Vault, which is an onboarding mechanism, Pixel, which is self-validating transaction, atomic square swaps, post and trade sales, smart square contracts, etc., etc., etc. But I have only time to discuss only one of them, atomic swaps, okay? So let me tell you what an atomic square swap means. First of all, it means an atomic swap which is really atomic, rather than an atomic swap which is atomic in name and then requires a sequence of steps, which is not atomic at all. And so these are essentially Algorand's lock-free atomic swap. So we have two users, red and green. They have two assets, X and Y. They want to swap them. Let me tell you essentially what happens. That you want to, both you and the other guy want to sign a pair your signature alone doesn't cause anything to happen. You need two signatures that you want to swap this key's ownership of a thing. But why can the blockchain recognize this? Because you supply also on a silver platter a proof that you own the asset up to the last block, and so do you. So if I am a committee that sees a block where there's a strange transaction, I don't need to comb the blockchain to see who owns what. I'm given on a silver platter the proof of ownership up to the last block. I accept it and I put it in the blockchain. And at this point, I can strip the proof, which I already verified, and just put this in the blockchain. So what are the advantages of atomic square swaps? First of all, because the swap happens by a single transaction. And what does this mean? That I cannot cheat you, and you cannot cheat me. Because in a hash and time lock traditional swap, we are going to have many baby steps. Because I'm not going to do a baby step because I'm afraid it's easy for me to assign you the asset, but then I don't know if you are going to reciprocate. So I do a baby step, you do a baby step. Must give you time to react if I'm dishonest. It's a very long, drawn-up process. But if there is a single transaction, either the single transaction enters the blockchain, we were swapped assets. If it doesn't enter the blockchain, we retain the assets we can sell to somebody else. So, and moreover, we implement this at layer 1. We do not implement this as other projects do, as a smart contract. Smart contracts are slow. Smart contracts are expensive. And smart contracts sometimes are prone to errors. So we believe that putting things in layer 1 is a way to have instantaneous process, single transactions, and it's going to be very fast and very cheap. And by the way, it's much easier to not to have errors if you don't buy the smart contracts from far away. In my opinion, this is what trading ought to be in its core, and this is going to be the next generating of trading. Let me put in another way, because we are going to be this November with atomic square swaps and atomic multi-party transfer are going to come to the Algorand blockchain. Stay tuned. And so what is an atomic multi-party transfer? It's a similar idea, but slightly different. What do you want? You want to execute this payment, this payment, this payment, this payment, all together. And these payments can be in red currency, blue currency, black currency, you name it. So that's what you need in supply chain, and that's what you need in all kinds of financial applications. Somebody has brought the coffee from the Andes to the plane, somebody else has brought it from the plane to the station, somebody else to the harbor, from the harbor is on a ship, and so on and so forth. You must pay them all. That takes months, even with modern wire transfer, to settle all these things. Here, you want all these payments done simultaneously? Done. Okay? What does it mean done? In a single transaction. Without cheating, because it's a single transaction. In layer 1, so to be very fast, and again, without smart contracts that are so prone to error. So as you can start seeing, the Algorand strategy is to prepare a very rich set of layer 1 strategy, so that with high probability, whatever you want to do is already available and you can use a ready-made template. And if it's not available, you can actually most probably compose a few, 1, 2, 3 of these ready-made templates and get what you want, again, very fast and very simply. And for the rest, wait for our smart square contracts. And I'd like to also share with you something else, which is Algorand approach to co-chain. Did I say sub-chain? No. Who wants to be subservient to anybody? Did I say side chain? No. Who wants to be peripheral to anything? I said co-chain. So what is a co-chain? A co-chain runs its own consensus. So they want to be empowered. It's a nation state. It's a consortium of very powerful banks. So they don't care about nor Bitcoin nor any one of our blockchain. And they want to be private. It's not a permissionless public blockchain. All shield the transaction. But they want to be transparent inside. They want to have a blockchain inside to figure out really who owns what among them. All right. So The advantages is scalability because no matter how fast a permissionless public blockchain is, a very super duper network with giga network of connections is going to be faster. And then another advantage is scalability because initially a co-chain is going to have 12 members, say 12 big financial institutions. Then they want to bring in some medium-sized banks, maybe small-sized banks, then credit unions. Then if they have a consensus that only works for 12 people, but not 12,000 or a million later on, they are going to get stuck and become a dinosaur in 6 months. So to take, say, Algorand or a chain like Algorand, which is permissionless and scales to billions of users, you can always restrict it to a few users, and you know that you can actually lift the restriction and allow and permission more and more people as you want. And then, because Algorand blockchain does not fork, neither does the blockchain in a co-chain. And by the way, they're going to have all this rich layer 1 functionality that they really need, like atomic swap, atomic multi-party transfer, and so on and so forth. But most of it, I believe that a co-chain wants the ability to interact with another co-chain. Congratulations, you did your own financial co-chain and it's private. You can interact with security among each other. Well, here is an healthcare co-chain that represents in the United States 20% of the economy. Doesn't the financial co-chain want to interact with the healthcare co-chain? Of course it should, because it's 20% of the economy. But how? Here is how a permissionless common blockchain works, and that is my last technical slide. So let's assume there is a blue co-chain which is permission, private. Then there is a red co-chain, also permission, also private. And in between, there is the permissionless public blockchain of Algorand. So as a blue player in the blue chain, I have an asset, a triangle. And you have in the red blockchain another asset, a circle. Somehow we must know about each other because I'm private, you're private, but somehow let's assume we discovered you have a circle, I have a triangle. So, oh, I love your circle. Oh, it's a beautiful triangle. Let's swap it. How the hell can you do that? So you do it like this. First of all, if I'm the blue chain, I transfer my public key that the blue chain knows I owns the triangle. I assign this triangle to Algorand, to a string Algorand. And this transaction is approved because I'm the owner of the triangle and is actually represented in our block, which you can see now the triangle is becoming black. And so what I do next is going to do a proof to the Algorand chain that now my public key owns the triangle, the black triangle, and therefore this is going to be accepted by the Algorand blockchain. Why do I need the proof? Because the blue chain is private. If I tell you, dear Algorand, the main chain, I own a triangle, could you give me the triangle in your chain? It says, how do I know? But that's why I give the proof, right? And the proof doesn't mean that the Algorand has to monitor all the blocks and the content of the blocks of the blue chain. That's a private chain. But the headers of the blocks are easy to disentangle and without revealing any information. And so all you need that my devoting to Algorand, my triangle, is actually one transaction in this block, and that's all you do, this transaction and the header of the block. With this, the Algorand says, okay, now I put in my records that you own it, and why can I put you in my record? Because we are a permissionless blockchain. So the blue public key that owns the triangle in the blue chain does not exist in Algorand. But remember, in a permissionless chain, any key is welcome. That's why I can always transfer assets to the Algorand blockchain. And after we do that, in 4.5 seconds, we can swap the assets in the Algorand blockchain. And then guess what? Then I upload them where they come back, and at the end of the day, I have what I wanted. That assets are swapped, and now I can trade the blue circle inside the blue chain, and nobody knows except the blue colleagues of mine who will own the chain. So that's how the co-chain works, and I believe that is a good structure. And in fact, we all interoperated happily thereafter. So let me conclude that my take is that we all have both a public and a private persona. We all have a yearning for transparency and trust. We all have the goal of decentralization. And we all have the need to interact with each other. But without the right technology, we have nothing. The blockchain's aspirations will be realized by technology. And only through technology will let us be who we really want to be. So, join us, build with us, let's build together the blockchain that we deserve and the blockchain worth of our efforts and our love. Thank you.